All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we have a very special guest who comes to tell us his story. This is not just a friend of mine, but this is like a brother to me. But again, he's going to get into his story. You don't want to miss this, and I advise you to stick around and listen. This is my boy Ant. Uh, Ant, how you doing today?
What's up, brother? I'm pretty good. How you been?
Man, it's all good, family. Let's just start off so the people, the general audience, can know. How old are you?
All right, I'm 30 years old.
Okay, 30 years old, and you graduated from here in town.
Yes, sir. I graduated from options when I was 16, actually. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good. That's good.
Technically, most of my life, though, but I graduated.
And then you graduated from
Yeah.
options. Does that mean you had some trouble in school?
No, actually, I've been on I've been on my own paying bills since I was 14,
Mm,
and so when I turned 16, shortly before I turned 16, I found out I was having my son, and I need to get out of school faster so I could work more. So I went to options, went to school 4 hours a day. I'd get off and go to work the rest of the day.
wow. And how many kids you have?
I have 8 currently.
8.
Yeah. Yes, sir. 8. That's a big number, boy.
Wow. 8.
Basketball team with some reserves on the bench.
Yes. And you started at the age of
16.
16 with your first one.
Well, he was conceived when I was 15. But
Right.
had him when I was 16.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's get into this. Let's go ahead and start about. I want to ask you about your childhood and also your upbringing. I know that there's some things that you want to share concerning your childhood and your upbringing. At this time, I want to give you the floor, and I want to talk to you about your childhood and your upbringing, uh, as you see fit.
Okay. All right. So I guess we can just start out with break the ice with the big one.
Okay.
So I was born I mean, we're all born in sin, depending on how you look at it. But I was born, my mother was 13 years old when she had me, and my father was 26. You did not hear that incorrectly. My father was 26 and my mother was 13. My life should have never happened if we're speaking from a legality standpoint. What happened was not legal. However, my grandmother was faced with, my daughter says she loves this man. My grandma didn't really approve of it, but at that time things were a little bit different. This is back in the 80s or 90s, so things are a little bit different. And my grandmother agreed if they got married, my father and my mother, that she would not press charges on him.
Wow.
So that's why charges were never filed. That's why nothing was ever done. They were madly in love for the next 6, 7 years. They didn't split till I was about 8 years old. Or 7, somewhere off in there.
Wow.
I think from a very, very young age, I was exposed to not only every type of abuse, sexual, emotional, verbal, physical, but also just the erratic lifestyle, the drug-induced lifestyle, the gangster lifestyle, if you per se. And from a young age, it conformed my brain, unknown to me, of course, because I was a child, but it just became like all that was natural. Like you're supposed to fight who you love. You're supposed to, it's hard to really put into words, but it taught me the wrong basis. It started me off on the wrong foundation of life.
So technically, you was born into confusion and problems.
100%.
Okay. So at 8, how was it you personally growing up in a household that was full of confusion and full of drugs? It was full of dysfunction. How did you kind of maneuver around that or weather that storm?
Honestly, I rushed myself to be an adult. And like I said, for me, 14 years old, me and my father didn't see eye to eye. Um, my mother was not in the picture at the time. She was off peddling drugs and doing mean and whatever else she may have been doing at that time. I have no idea. But it was basically like, look, man, I gotta find a way to get out of here. And at 7, 8, 9 years old, I can't do that. But I knew in my head I just gotta suffer and deal with this as long as I can and try my best, not to do anything to bring on extra attention to myself and just get out of this house as quick as I can.
Wow.
Like I knew deep down inside, and I know now as an adult, I understand a little more that they did love me, but they had the wrong idea of love themselves, and what they showed me was not love.
Wow. So you spoke on being emotionally abused, verbally abused, physically abused. There was even some molestation going on. Uh, would you care to expound on that?
Yeah, of course, no problem. I've spoke about this many times throughout the years, just never publicly. But yes, from the ages of 5 to 9 years old, I was sexually molested. Uh, Pretty much my whole life, I've been verbally abused and stuff like that. But I think pretty much everybody kind of deals with that. And I am learning now that in my adulthood, a lot of people that you wouldn't think about have actually dealt with being molested as a child. There's two things I want to do here. I want to separate this. I want to talk to the children.
Yes.
There's a child watching this right now, and you have anybody of any sort. I don't care if they're blood, not blood. It does not matter who they are. Your parents, your grandparents, your uncle, your cousin. It don't matter. If they're doing anything to you that makes you uncomfortable, please tell somebody.
Yes.
You don't know how many people you could potentially save by telling somebody. And I'm sorry if anything is going on with you or happening to you. You don't deserve that. To the adults, please be mindful of who you have around your children and who you trust around your children and what you trust your children to do. What was done to me was done to me by somebody that should have never done it, by somebody that was supposed to be the most trusted, most loved person of my life. And everybody around me had no idea for years until I came out about it in my teenage years. Nobody had any idea because everything looks normal on the outside, especially when someone like me, or a child like me, comes from something where they have to mask their emotions 24/7. You learn to not talk about things. They put it down. I'm here to ask you, the children, to please talk about it. And I'm here to ask you adults to please be mindful about it and be aware of where your children are at all times, who they're around. For me, the hardest thing about, honestly, I've always been naturally a selfless person. So the hardest thing for me when I was getting molested was I would rather that person do it to me than go do it to my sibling.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Wow.
do it to me. I'd rather save my little sister. I'd rather save my brother, if that's what it took.
Right.
And I mean, ain't no telling how many times I probably did save them.
Right.
But obviously, as you can tell, it takes an emotional toll on you. Even 30 years old, I've talked about it a bunch of times. I've went to counseling. I've had spouses. We've talked about similar situations, and it still bothers me, you know, when I speak about it out loud. To hear things like that done to you as a child, or to hear things done like that to any child, it's hard emotionally to accept.
How do you, man, how do you just, because you are a survivor.
Right.
You are a survivor, but how did you get there? But I know you said by masking, but at some point, forgiving is one thing, but forgetting is another.
Correct.
And how do you navigate life knowing that this happened to me as a man and still have to be daddy and still got to be husband and things of that nature?
Honestly, forced by circumstances and situations, but I ain't got no choice. You know what I'm saying? As you heard earlier, I have 8 children. I, I can't let it bother me. I can't let it get me down. You know what I mean? I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna be open about it, and I'll let I'll let myself feel my emotions, but I can't let it stop me from being a man in life. And I thought that even before I had children. I knew if I sit here and weep in my own sorrows, I'll just fall apart. So the only choice I got is to stand up and keep moving.
Wow.
And if something like that happening to you at a young age, it goes to show you, if I can deal with that, survive that,
I can deal with anything.
anything.
Yeah.
Touch me. Come on.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that's exactly what got me through, man. Was I've always kind of been a hard head. You know what I mean? Everybody knows me, though. I didn't really listen as a child, so it kind of played in my favor. I pushed it to the back of my mind, said I'm just going to physically take control of myself as much as I can and stop what I can from happening to me going forward, and hopefully potentially save some kids or my siblings. But I'm not gonna let this kill me, emotionally or physically.
Was that kind of the, not just the molestation, but just the whole experience of the trauma and the drama in the house, was that what led you to the military?
Uh, Partially. I wanted to be military because I'm 6th or 7th generation military in my family. It goes all the way back to the American Revolution. I got ancestor John Downs that fought the American Revolution. We've had a male from every lineage since then.
Wow.
At least one being in the military.
Wow. So you wanted to keep it going.
Correct.
Yeah.
My grandfather was Army Marines, and my dad was Army. But me and two of my other brothers actually all joined the Marines pretty much together.
Mhm.
I mainly joined because I didn't have another option. in my mind. You mean?
Wow.
So I was 16, 17. I was 17 years old at that time, and I was faced with, I got a son, man. I need a future. I need a career,
Right.
not a job. I need a career. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I started the college path. I tried to go to TC. Some paperwork slipped, and they came back to me and told me, like, look, we ain't gonna be able to get you into the next semester. I can't wait till next semester. So I called the recruiter, said, hey man, what can I do? I need to get in ASAP. That's where that started.
So what branch were you?
Marine Corps.
How long?
This is where it also gets interesting.
Okay.
Because of the childhood I was brought up in and how I was unaware of what it did to me subconsciously, I thought so many things was normal. I thought everybody had secrets. I thought everybody was cheating. I thought everybody was doing some type of drug or alcohol and just didn't tell anybody.
Mhm.
So when I was in the military, get around a bunch of people. I mean, you know, military's known for smoking, drinking,
Right.
partying, stuff like that. Even though I'm 17, 18, I'm not supposed to do some of this. I was. I was drinking, I was partying, I was selling pills, selling weed, you know, doing whatever, and thought I was the man. And I mean, I had a lot of money at that time, so I felt like I was invincible.
Right.
I was fresh 18, you know, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was Superman. And ended up getting me separated from the military for drug abuse.
Wow.
Because, and we're talking not even a full year, bro. I graduated boot camp I went to boot camp in November, graduated boot camp in February that next year. And I was back home by November that next year.
Wow.
Like almost 12 months to the day, I was back home.
So did that cause you to spiral?
100%. And the people in the military, kudos to them. Some of the sergeants and the gunner sergeant, them, they were very honest with me, and they said, "Look, man, because of your detailed childhood, because of your detailed history with drugs and abuse of every kind, and this, and that, you don't even know how deep you're in it. We want to send you to this program to help you." Like I said, I was too hard headed, too cocky. I don't need no program to help me. What you talking about?
Wow.
I didn't take it. So
Wow.
when I came home, what happened? I fell right back into the same patterns, around the same people, doing the same thing. If you hang with 10 gangbangers, you're gonna be the 11th. You know what I'm saying? That's what they say. So when I come home and I'm hanging around people I'd never smoked or done that. I swore I would never touch it because it took my mother from me at a very young age. She's alive, but it took her from me in another instance at a young age. So, or at least that type of activity did. So I swore my whole life I'd never touch it. I come home from the military. Next thing you know, people need this, and that. I know how to get it. I'm gonna start moving it. You start moving it, you start doing it. Next 3, 4 years later, you wonder how I get addicted, where I'm at, what am I doing? That's where it all started. My whole downward spiral for up until honestly, like the last since me and London been together, well, probably about a year before we got together, I was done for. So we're talking from 17, 18, all the way to 25.
Yeah.
7, 8 years, and I was just out there wasting life.
Wow.
But I was still being an active father or doing my best to still be there for my children and stuff like that. But as far as leading by example, I was not by any means.
So how long would you say that you were addicted to meth? Was it just meth or
it was anything that gave me dopamine feeling, but the hardest thing I ever did was meth.
Right.
I never did like
so
heroin.
you were a functioning addict.
100%.
You were still
I
able
would go
to
to work and people had no idea.
Wow.
I mean,
how was you able to hide? How was you able to hide that?
I don't know, bro. Masking. I was so good at masking. I mean, even when I was in the military,
That makes sense.
I'd be high for pills, be up all night, and I'd go to PT at 4 a.m, and my sergeant would never notice. He would never notice I was high. He would never notice I was hungover because I was so good at masking. I didn't want nobody to know. I lived my life as if I was an actor in a movie, and I portrayed myself to be this, and I was super, super hard dedicated to letting that be my image. And I wasn't gonna let nothing risk my image. Now, obviously, I'm a grown man. I don't care about no people.
Right.
But back then, it was like, I'm a mask it. Ain't nobody gonna know nothing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm going to the bathroom to sneak something real quick. I'm going behind the store. I mean, I'm just doing careless, reckless, buffoonery behavior, you know? And I don't know, man. I'm glad I'm not there no more.
So what was the moment that you had a so to speak come to Jesus moment to where you said, you know what, I gotta change my ways. I can't allow this to be the death of me. What was that experience that ultimately got you away from the addiction?
Let's get a little deep here, but I saw myself in the mirror, bro. That's what it is. I saw myself in the mirror and I said, would I want my daughter to be with a man like that?
Mm,
The woman I was with at the time, my ex-wife, her father had died. And I wondered, if I'm that man looking down, I'm asking my daughter what the heck she's still doing with me.
that's deep.
Something gotta change.
That's deep.
So what would I do if a little girl, 16, 17 years old, called me, my son's girlfriend, and says, my son's acting like this? How am I going to discipline my son if I'm doing buffoonery behavior myself?
Mm,
If I'm a drug addict, especially on meth, you know what I'm saying? We're not talking about no weed. We're not talking about alcohol, weed, which those are still bad within themselves, but we talking about some hard stuff.
right.
Like, I had a breakdown. Me and my ex-wife, I was never physically violent with anybody I was ever with, other than when I was on meth.
Right.
So you become the person that you swear you never will.
Right.
And me and my wife were both, physically violent with each other. We didn't punch on each other, nothing like that, but pushing, get off me, this, and that. And I broke a lot of stuff in the house, man. That wasn't mine. And it wasn't hers. It was her dead daddy's.
Jesus.
I broke windows, I broke doors, because I lost it. You know what I mean? I was high. I got pissed off. She said something that hurt me, or I said something, whatever. That's how crazy, because you don't even remember what started the argument. You just remember the reaction from it. And I remember I went crazy. And she left, and I was sitting in the house, and I looked around, and that's when it hit me. What if my son did this, bro? What if somebody did this to my daughter's house that I bought them?
Mm.
I'm going to jail. So why is it okay? Because it's myself.
That's deep.
Yeah, something got to change. I laid around that woman's house and didn't have a job for 6 months, bro. All I did was smoke dope all day and play video games, thinking I was the man because I had money in my pocket. I was moving weight. I thought I was cool. I was the lamest dude. Being rude to my woman, barely seeing. I was seeing my children, but barely seeing my children
Right.
when I was there, because presence is presence. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I became disgusted with myself, and I looked at it, and the only way I was able to get my brain to get past I want to hit it. Because honestly, sometimes people get high out of boredom. They just
Right.
be bored. I'm like,
Right.
I just want to do something. I said, if a man walked into my house and grabbed my wife and walked out the door, grabbed my children and walked out the door, took my TV off the stand and walked out the door, I'm gonna put some hands on that man.
Mm-hmm.
He ain't gonna be a part of my life no more. So why do I let dope do? Why I let dope come in my house and take my woman in my relationship?
Wow.
Take my relationship with my kids, take all my money, take all the things that mean something to me.
Wow.
You got to personify that addiction. So whether it's alcohol, whether it's weed, whether it's pills, whatever it is, you got to go, why am I letting this little bitty rock of nothing really change all of this? And that's really what did it for me.
Wow.
And ever since then, I actually left my ex-wife because of that.
Really?
She relapsed. And people, I do judge myself, because you're never supposed to just leave a wife. If that's your wife, you're supposed to be with her forever. But obviously, like I said, I grew up with the wrong idea of love, and I felt I was going to lose myself trying to rescue someone else. And I already did that a few times with my mother growing up. So I just rather not do it with my spouse. And I left her. I told her, like, look, if you ever go back to that, I'm done.
Mhm.
Went back to it, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? I wipe my hands with it. I've
Right.
been clean.
Right.
That's
And
5-6 years now. So
and ultimately that was probably the best move for you, because it got you clean. So let me ask you this: if the sober you, the clean you, could say anything to the drug addict, the addicted you, what would the clean version of you would say?
put that pipe down, bro. Put the pipe down, put the drug down, the rock, the whatever it is, bro. The bottle, put it down, dog. You don't need it. You trying to fill an empty hole inside of yourself, and you ain't gonna fill it with an empty bottle. I promise you.
Wow.
You ain't gonna fill it with a cigar. You ain't gonna fill it with a pipe. You gonna fill it with yourself. You gotta learn how to heal yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, the great one above will help you in ways that you never understand. regardless of what your belief in religion is, whether you're Christian, agnostic, Muslim, it doesn't matter. God's real.
That's true.
You
Facts.
can't deny that.
That's a fact.
And when you want that help and you need someone to rescue you, you're gonna need supernatural power, supernatural presence in the universe. You can't just do it. You're a mortal human. So I was never a religious person, but I cried to God many times and I talk to God all the time. I'm a very spiritually in tune person now. And I begged God, please just give me an opportunity. That's all you don't even have to open the door, bro. Please just put the door in front of me so I can learn to put this down, dog, because I don't want to be this person no more.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, I became the man I am today.
Wow, man, I'm absolutely proud of you. I really am. And with that, it led you to meeting your current wife.
Correct.
Am I correct about that?
So
So take me through that. How did you guys meet, and
right.
how did she change you?
So we actually knew each other from middle school, we was classmates. We hung out here and there. Never really knew each other.
Mhm.
But when we got older, I always thought she was attractive. She thought I was attractive, but you don't entertain anybody that's not your spouse. So I never thought about it ever. When I seen her on Facebook after I became single, and I was like, let's see if she got a man. She didn't have a man. So I hit her up. And one thing led to another. Turned out at that time, she was like 2 blocks from where I was. She was like, pull up, let's talk. We start talking. I don't know, a week or two later, we moving in together.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So we moved kind of fast, but we both come from a similar background.
Right.
And especially with our most recent relationship before each other, we both come from a similar background, similar situations and circumstances. So we kind of just clicked. And yeah, I mean, I take that back. After me and my ex-wife split, because she was doing that, God humbled me, bro, and showed me. She fell off easy. In my mind, I was like, she fell off so easy. What happened? I fell off easy. And for about 2 months after me and my ex split, before me and London got together, I was backpedaling again. Because I was hanging around wrong people. Thought I was cool, you know what I'm saying? Oh, we're glad to have you back, da-da-da. No, they're not. They're just glad to have you fixed.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Did any of this lead you to any incarceration or?
Only times I ever been incarcerated, I almost did get incarcerated when I was getting separated from the military. If I didn't play it the way I played it, because I told them I just gave the drugs to my friends, they didn't purchase them from me. Because I said that, I got away. They couldn't get me from drug distribution or being paid for. You know what I mean? I told them I left the bucket right there full of drugs and came back, some was gone. I don't know, it ain't my business. You know what I mean? Because I didn't sell them nothing, they couldn't get me from distribution.
Right.
I would have went to the brig for at least 10 years for that. Only other time I ever went to jail was both times in a relationship about methamphetamines. And it wasn't even like a marriage. It was just a flame with somebody that I thought was something. You know what I mean? And put myself in other people's business. Both times is why I got arrested.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when your kids get a little bit older where they can start to understand life, do you sit them down and do you talk to them about what you've experienced as a father, as a man? So there are certain things that they can kind of miss, or at least attempt to miss as they get older.
100%. I've actually had many of grown talks with multiple of my children, especially my son. He's 13. So he's at that age, like, look,
Yeah.
I can't say nothing worse to you than what you ain't already heard out there on your phone.
Yeah.
So we finna have a talk, sit down. And he heard for a couple of years when I was out there, which he saw me and stuff. And there was like 2 or 3 years where he did see me because his mother didn't want him around me. At that time, I blamed her. Let me see my son, da-da-da-da. Now, as a sober parent, I see because the effects that it had on me as a child when I was around my mother and she was doing.
Wow. Yeah, it makes sense.
Right. And so now I understand. So I had to sit down with my son. My son straight up asked me, Daddy, why'd you leave me? Straight up. And I told him, son, I didn't leave you. I always tried to talk to you, but your mother was a good enough mom to keep you away from the environments that I was involved in. I was so lost that I was like, man, what's the matter if my son is in the middle of Beverly with me? That's how I thought. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm always take care of him. My son ain't gonna be hurt. He ain't gonna be starving. Like what? I didn't understand the effects of having my son around that environment
Man,
until I became older to realize the toll it takes on.
bro, you just said something powerful. That she was a mother enough to keep him away.
Yeah.
That I don't know if people understand that, but that because
blamed her for years, dog.
that's powerful, and that's maturity
And
growth.
everybody around me blamed her. Nobody told me, "Oh, just put it down."
Mhm.
Now there was some times, and she may not admit this to my son, but I openly told my son this. There was many a times after I became clean, well, I begged and pleaded with her. You can give me a hair follicle. I promise you, I've been clean for this long. Like, please let me see my son. And she would never respond.
Mm.
It took her 2-3 years before she finally started responding to me. Of course, in that moment, I judged, like, well, you keeping his son from his father.
Mhm.
But I also understand the totality of the picture that I've always lied to. So why would I be keeping it real that one time?
Wow.
And I had to understand that from a bigger picture as a parent now, because I have a daughter with another woman. And that woman is living a similar lifestyle to what I lived when they kept my child from me.
Mm.
And I'm faced with, do I want my daughter to go see her mama? I don't know who she gonna have around.
Right.
Where
Right.
she gonna have my daughter?
Right.
What my daughter gonna be seeing, hearing? And then I go, God got a way of humbling you, because now I understand why she kept my son from me.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many of the kids are in home with you?
5.
5. Wow.
5 kids in the house. 3 girls and 2 boys in the house. I got 5 daughters and 3 sons together though.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're a little bit harder on the girls or the boys?
Honestly, I'm probably harder on my youngest 2 boys. My oldest son, these are really extremely good kids. He doesn't know anything about any of that I knew at his age, which
Right.
is awesome. I'm so thankful for that. So I'm really, sometimes, I try to be hard on my girls too, but
Yes.
I'm a dad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, come
Yeah.
here, give me a hug. But, there is my 2 oldest daughters. I feel like I naturally feel like throughout the day, because they're so mature for their age. They're 8,
Right.
9 years old, but they act like 15, 16-year-olds with how much they know, how much they do. They'll clean, they'll cook, they'll do whatever you need them to. So sometimes I like inadvertently or subconsciously put too much on them. Like, hey, go get that and take it over there and do that over there because I'm doing this.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, I sit down and go, man, just let them be a kid, bro. You know what I mean? They kids. Like, and then sometimes I expect them to just know something because
Right.
they're older. You know
Right.
what I mean? Other than that, got a little message on your phone. But other than that, I'm pretty soft on the majority of my children. Or at least I try to be pretty soft.
So tell me about your wife, your wife now. She's an amazing
Amazing.
woman, and man, and
She saved me, dog. She saved me.
and that's what I want to talk about. Tell me how, or why you're saying she saved me.
Let me rephrase, because me and her have talked about this specifically. She helped me see that I could save myself.
Ooh.
That's where it comes from. It wasn't her saving me. Can't nobody save you, dog. Only you can save yourself, but other people can show you or lead you the way. She was actually about a year clean from methamphetamines when I met her. When we met back up. And like I said, I was still piddling paddling, but I didn't want nobody to know. Or I just started back, didn't want nobody to know because everybody gonna judge me when I left my ex-wife for doing this, and then I started back doing that. I'm a hypocrite, you know what I mean? So I didn't want nobody to know I was doing it. I got in her presence. I'm sitting around there at her house with her children, and I said, ain't no way I can do it, dog. Ain't no way I can come in here and look this woman in her face and tell her I'm clean when I'm not. When I'm going to the park around the corner to smoke a rock. When I'm going to holler at my boy to see if I can throw a little 20 here. Nah, bro, I'm not going to do that to this woman. Because this woman done came back from that hell that I'm trying to put her through. Or put myself through, and she was just going to be, a casualty across the way.
Right.
So I looked and said, this woman is too precious. These children are too precious. And unfortunately, I didn't do that with my own children because we wasn't in the household. But being able to be in what is a healthy home environment. Because she lived with her father at the time. She had a house, but she was getting remodeled. So she lived with her father at the time, who was wonderful, great, probably the best man I've ever personally known in my life. And it showed me a different type of love. It showed me a different type of everything. Like, hey, bro, why are you so combative or defensive about emotions? You don't need to be like that. I
Mhm.
still love you. It just made me go, I don't want to drag this woman down with me. I want to help build her up. And I can't do that if I'm still peddling.
Right.
So immediately, one morning, I remember the morning. She don't even know that I remember the exact morning. I got in the car with my brother, do this like my brother. He pulled it out, like normal. I said, I don't want it, bro. I said, just like, I don't want it, bro. He looked at me, he said, okay, what happened? What changed? I said, she changed me, though.
Wow.
I mean, it was like 2 days after meeting back up with her. I was like, it was the first, I went over there and then left. And then like one time I went over there, I ended up staying the night with her. After that first time of staying the night, when I woke up the next morning, her kids is playing and baby need a bottle and she's right here and da da da. I'm like, I'm done with it, bro. I ain't never going back. I'm not gonna do it. And I don't know, man. That's the start of it. From there, the first couple months we was together, all she seen was my toxic demon rearing his face at her, screaming at her, out of being hurt, out of being misunderstood, out of not feeling loved. Drugs will do something to you and put you in a psychosis where you feel like ain't nothing real, it's all fake and everybody out to get you. You know what I'm saying?
So you had a hard time adjusting to somebody who's actually loving you.
Correct.
Wow. Okay.
And because I thought when we get to an argument, if I'm woo 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 and you turn around and just walk off, oh, that means you don't care about me. And she cares so much about me, she don't want to hurt me with what she might say.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So she walks away. That taught me a level of maturity. And sometimes I still struggle with that. But she's wonderful at it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I've gotten 10 times better because of her. And it was so hard, like I was telling you before the camera started rolling, it was so hard after I became an adult to go back and retrain my brain to understand that there's types of love and there's things that I don't understand. And that the type of love I was taught is not normal. So not everything gotta be toxic.
Right.
And almost every relationship I had before her was toxic
Mm-hmm.
because of me. Of course, everybody plays their part because that's what I thought was normal. I'd start an argument just to be arguing.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? Like just used to stuff. And she was real dedicated to working. Like I've always had a good work ethic other than when I was on dope.
Mm-hmm.
So coming out of that little bender I went on, I said, man, she came back from something worse, drug wise, than what I did. And life dealt her a worse hand in a lot of ways than what I dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
But she still get up and go to work. I know she don't want to sometimes, you know what I mean? Why can't I do that? That's a woman, bro. So seeing a woman be more of a man than me is what made me change.
That's good.
For real.
That's
And
good.
it took a lot as a man to be able to admit that to myself.
Mm-hmm.
But it is true, bro. There's women out there that's better men than me.
Right.
That's how it is. And it still pushes me sometimes to this day. Where I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, you know what I mean? I gotta pick up the slack.
Mhm.
And I never looked back after we got together. I never touched. The only thing I ever did after we been together was I drank here. I don't drink anymore, but I used to drink here and there. Not a big drinker no more. Did too much of that in my childhood. I smoked a little pot here and there. But me and her have been wonderful. We've had a few hiccups.
That's every
I
relationship.
come to you as a brother
Mhm.
and like as a pastor. Hey man, listen, I need God's help. I need your help. And by the power of God, by the power of love, we've made it here, made it through.
Man, I'm happy to hear that. That's a literally a genuine love story.
For real.
You know what I'm saying? From having somebody to pull you out of the mud and then them not to fall in.
Yep. Oh, I
Man,
know there was some times when she probably
yeah,
wanted to get a little,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying, and get a little crazy on me. And there has been some times where she did get a little crazy.
Mm.
Hey, I get it. You can only put up with so much from somebody for so long before you snap. And I wasn't the best person, although I thought, your brain to trick you. Like,
Right.
you a good person,
Right.
but you wouldn't do some of this or that if you was really the person you think you
Right.
are. And I just had to come to the realization of I'm not where I thought I was, but that don't mean I can't get there.
Mm.
So that's That's what I did. And still to this day, I'm not where I want to be. You know
Right.
what I mean? I feel like
But
I
you,
always move the goalposts.
that's right.
You know,
That's right.
give me something to push towards.
That's right. You know, after listening to your story, man, you have a survival instinct. And I see where it came from. It came from you 7, 8 years old, having to survive some things. And
Right.
then it carried you all the way over to your adulthood because you have that mentality. If I don't know, I'll figure it out.
Correct.
I'll figure it out before I ask for help. That's just the man in you, the survivalist in you. And man, I just want to just say how proud I am because a normal person would have folded
Correct.
at 7, 8, and 9 of what you've experienced. But man, you just have that just come from the heart of gold because it matured you. Yeah, you had your hiccups. Yes, you had your bumps in the road.
Right.
But by looking at you, you can't tell. You can't tell
I'm glad. I appreciate that, bro.
because you've literally overcame. So I want you to do me a favor. I want you to speak to the parents
Okay.
that are looking. I want you to speak to the parents because you as a parent had to not only deal with yourself but also deal with the demons that you are facing and still had to be daddy, still had to show up the next day. And if you could just speak to the parents.
Correct. All right, I got you. I'm gonna speak to you on multiple capacities here. First off, I want to tell you, as a father, as a parent, if you are an active parent in your child's life, I'm proud of you because I know it's just an obligation. It's just you're just supposed to do it, but sometimes that obligation can still be a little hard on you mentally. Um, Mainly, people that have multiple children, it gets a little stressful sometimes. But I want to say I'm proud of every parent that's a part of their child's life. And if you're not a part of your child's life, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Um, as a father that comes from the past that I come from, and as a child that went through what I went through, you can never be too safe with your children. That's one of the biggest things I want to tell you. Um, this is going to spiral off into something that I saw, but as a father, as a predominant member of this community, I would like everyone to know um, what they already know pretty much, that there's some dark, evil truths out there to the world. And in 2014, I won't say the location because it was technically supposed to be classified, but it's been long enough that I'm allowed to talk about it. I was a confidential informant. And when I was in the military, I walked up and I saw a man that was on a website for child sex trafficking. They were mutilating, abusing in any capacity children for money. They would video record it and people would donate their money during the live stream to do such and such to child and do this and that and go so far as to killing children on camera. When I discovered this, obviously you kind of hear about things like that being true growing up, but at 17 years old, being a father, my son at the time only had one, it hit me. Oh, wait a minute. And this was all just from a link. Somebody sent a dude a link and you click on it and it's right there. I mean, it looks like a website. Somebody can send it to your phone or your kid's phone and they just, you know what I mean? And it come to discover that there was 32 states, or no, by the 32 countries, 15 states, and over 1,300 individuals involved, at least 300 being military personnel, whether they knew about it or whether they was involved in it. And some of these people had befriended me, through the ranks upon the time when I was in the military. And you have to sit down. And when I sat down with the chaplain, he said the same thing. Chaplain said, man, some of these people were like brothers to me, and I had no idea they was involved in this type of stuff. And we're talking about the most evil, cruel things that anyone, much less a child, should have to ever face. So please, as a parent, as a person, as a child that went through similar things, you can never be too safe with your children. Check them phones. Check them social medias. Block them from whatever you feel necessary as a parent. And sometimes you will have to have that hard conversation with your child and tell them, there's some things out there, there's some people out there that are not safe, honey. There's people out there who will portray to you that they're the safest in the world just to mutilate and abuse you. So please be safe and be careful, be mindful. Parents, if a child ever comes to you This is such and such did such and such to me. Do not act on emotion. Your emotion, trust me, as a man, and I faced this exact situation as a father. And you can't. Because if you, as a father or as a mother, go act on that whim of emotion, and you take that person's life, or such and such happens, now you're gone. Your freedom's gone. Can't let that happen. If your child comes to you and says such and such did such and such to me, I don't care if you don't believe in calling the police, don't believe in getting the laws, you ain't no snitch. When it comes to children, bro, snitching is not a thing. It ain't like me and you doing some stuff together and you my brother and you ain't gonna no. It comes to kids abusing anything, any crime with children. If you don't snitch, you one of them words that rhyme with snitch to me.
Yeah.
As a parent, if your child tells you that, obviously you take it very serious. But you need to act legally appropriate to save yourself and to help your child. Best thing you can do if your child says something, someone touched them, is you take them to counseling. Children Advocacy Center somewhere. Maybe y'all don't have one of them locally if you're not in Texarkana, but you take them to a professional counselor. Because I promise you, regardless of how much you think your child would tell you anything, they won't. Because you don't know what's going on in their side, their brain. They may not want mama or daddy to know that such and such did such and such to them because in their childlike brain, when I was a child, so and so did something to me. I didn't want to tell nobody because I didn't want everybody to make fun of me. I truly thought that as a child that people would make fun of me for such and such doing this to me when I was 5, 6 years old. So you don't know what goes through their kids' brains. Don't try to pressure and force your child to talk to you. They're always different with their parents. Go seek professional help. Go get that child into therapy. And then go legally address the person that they say is responsible for said act. And as a parent, it ain't easy, dog. And it don't ever get easy. I feel like a crackhead sometimes, even though I've never been one. I feel like a crackhead where I'm like, what's my son doing? What's my daughter doing? What's this? What's that? What's that? But I can never be too safe.
Yeah.
So as a parent, I don't believe that there is a line of, there's a very, very thin line of invasion of privacy. Anything in the bathroom, private, obviously. Leave them alone. On their phones ain't nothing private. I'm sorry. Oh, your boyfriend, girlfriend, your homegirl, your group chat, your Snapchat, your Instagram, all that. You are my child. I will go through it if I please. If you have a problem with me going through it, you just won't have one. Children will think, oh, my mom, my dad just being mean. Children, if you listening to this, parents, if you're showing your children, your parents aren't being mean. They're trying to save you from something that you have no idea about. I think one of the big things I wanted to touch on was drugs have more of an effect on the people around you than they probably do you yourself. Because guess what? When you on drugs, you high. You don't feel it. You don't think about it. But your son in the room playing on his tablet does. Or your sister down the road been begging for her sister to get clean for years. Your mama probably cries every night, praying her son don't go out there toting them sticks and them glocks with the switch, you know? Get a new sack. Gotta be the man, be the plug, get 13, 14, 15. It ain't worth it, bro. It ain't worth it. Luckily, I saved myself before I was facing life in prison or long imprisonment. But I did go to jail multiple times, twice, behind drug-induced lifestyles. I promise you, ain't no drug, ain't no drug of any sort out there, or anything that can get you intoxicated, gonna bring you the joy and the life to yourself as being a parent, as being an active parent.
Yeah.
And even if you're somebody that's going through that and you don't have children, I promise you, you got somebody out there that looks up to you. You got somebody out there that you're their Superman. You're their Wonder Woman. Where they go, oh, ain't nothing got that person tapped, shit. That person's still doing it. If you ain't gonna change for yourself, change for those around you.
That's good.
I know I know I want to speak now because in my past I didn't change for those around me. Just because I was lost. Once I seen the true effects it had on those around me, change was not an option. It was a most definite has to happen. There was no other option.
So Ant man, I just want to say thank you as we get ready and bring this to an end, man. I just again want to say thank you for coming and sharing your story, sharing your testimony, and I'm praying that it not only just touch a life, but it impacts them in a way that their life completely changed after hearing your story.
One more thing I'll add on the end note because I didn't add this. A week before my son was born, I was 16, like I said, I died from a drug overdose
Mm,
in a house full of people that were supposed to be my friends, bro. And this is real life, true story. I could call somebody if I had to, but I don't need to prove it. Just believe me, this is true. All them people that were supposed to be my friends, I hit what I thought was weed, stood up, passed out, face first on the ground. I'm seizing, vomiting, and I'm sitting in my own vomit as I'm seizing. All of my homeboys ran out the house. When I fell over seizing, I knocked the girl out. That was not mine. That was just there in the party, and she seasoned with me. We're both seasoned on the floor, about to die. And all anybody's concern in that room, aside from two people, everybody else concerned in that room was, I don't want to go to jail. And they left. Them people only love you for the benefit that you bring them when it comes to the street life, when it comes to the drug life.
mm,
Look at your relationship with somebody and go, what if we ain't got drugs? Will we still be friends? What if I wasn't doing this? Would you still think I was cool? A week before my first child was born, I didn't know that I died. I woke up like, well, I'm in the hospital. I thought I fell out the roof, broke a bone. I didn't know, bro, because I was high. I didn't know. I had no idea. But they told my wife, who was pregnant with my son at the time, obviously ex-wife now, but they told her and my parents as they walked into the, I would say operating room, but I wasn't having surgery. But they did have to pump my stomach, have to put a tube in me to keep me breathing, and put me on pretty much life support because I died in the back of the ambulance. They told my parents and my spouse at that time to say their goodbyes, that I wasn't supposed to make it.
mm.
I had no idea why everybody was crying when they walked in the room. I'm giving everybody hugs. I couldn't even speak, bro, for 6 hours after it happened. I'm laying in the hospital bed and all I can say is, in my brain, I'm talking, but ain't no words coming out. At that moment, I should have put it out there. I should have left it alone. And I didn't. Because I wanted to do what was comfortable to me. I wanted to look for love in the only way I knew possible. That was drug induced. That was just the lifestyle I was used to, man. If you wasn't drugging and thugging, then you wouldn't love it. That's not the truth. So I don't care how hard you may think you are. I don't care how cool you want to be. This is for them teenagers. Please stop. Not only do you got parents, some of you unfortunately may not have parents, but you got somebody out there, a guardian of some sort out there, that is dying inside every single day, watching you throw your life away. And you may think as a teenager, oh man, I ain't doing nothing but just going to parties. Where is they gonna get you? What is a party? What is the opportunity of if you go to a party? Trouble. It's the only opportunity. I mean, yeah, you might have a little fun when y'all first get drunk, first get high, but somebody gonna get mad. Somebody gonna get into a fight. Something gonna happen. Nowadays, people gonna start shooting. Innocent people gonna get hurt. Police gonna get called. What's a party? It's a pit full of trouble just waiting to happen.
Yep.
It ain't worth it, dog. Pick that phone up, call whoever you feel comfortable with and say, come get me. I don't want to be here no more. As a teen, as I just said, that almost lost my life. Please, please, please learn that them drugs are more powerful than you can understand at all. And you may say, oh, look at me, I'm fine. because you're a functioning addict. Trust me, I was one of the best. You are not fine. You keep doing those drugs to convince yourself that you're fine because you know when you're sober, look at your life and the totality of where you at, and you go, man, I got a lot to make up for. I'm not fine. So you do the drugs to ease the thoughts, to ease the anxiety of I need to get my life right. Stop doing them drugs and just get your life right. But that's all for AD, man. Hope I didn't ramble too much, and I love each and every one of y'all, man. My name is AD Downs on Facebook. If anybody, man, woman, child, it don't matter. If you need somebody to talk to, my inbox is always open.